Yulanpen Sutra, translated by the Western Jin Tripitaka master Dharmaraksa from Yuezhi. Thus have I heard. Once the Buddha was in the kingdom of Shravasti, in Jetavana, Anathapindika's park. The great Maudgalyayana had just obtained the 6 numinous powers, and desiring to liberate his parents in repayment for their kindness in nursing and feeding him, he used his eye of enlightenment to observe the worlds. He saw that his deceased mother was reborn among the hungry ghosts, and never seeing drink or food, her skin clung to her bones. Maudgalyayana was grieved, and filled his bowl with rice to go feed his mother. When his mother obtained the bowl of rice, her left hand shielded it, as her right hand scooped up the rice. The food had not yet entered her mouth before it transformed into fiery coals. Thus she could not have the food. Maudgalyayana, in a great howl of grief, wailed and wept. He hurriedly returned to address the Buddha, reporting to him these events in full. The Buddha said, "The roots of your mother's offences are so deep and knotted that it is beyond your power as a single person to do anything. Although the echoes of your filial obedience have shaken the heavens and earth, the heavenly spirits, earthly spirits, evil demons, heterodox practitioners, Taoist masters, and the 4 heavenly king deities are not able to do anything. You must have the strength of the numinous powers of the monastic assembly from the 10 directions to obtain her liberation. I will now, on your behalf, teach the means for her rescue, so as to allow all her troubles to be completely alleviated, and to eliminate her grief, suffering, and offensive hindrances." The Buddha told Maudgalyayana, "On the 15th day of the 7th lunar month, when the monastic assembly from the 10 directions release themselves in confession, you should, for the sake of 7 generations of parents, as well as your current parents and those under duress and difficulty, gather food of 500 flavors, 5 kinds of fruits, pots for drawing and pouring water, incense, oil, lamps, candles, bedding, mattresses, all that is sweet and beautiful in the entire world, and place them in a bowl to make offerings to the 10 directions of the vastly virtuous monastic assembly. On this day, all of the sagely assembly, whether those meditating in the mountains, or who have attained the fruits on the 4-fold path, or who are walking in meditation under the trees, or those freed by the 6 numinous powers, or those who edify others, or Shravakas, or Pracheka Buddhas, or those great beings, the Bodhisattvas of the 10th Bhumi, who provisionally manifest as bhikshus, all of those among the great assembly will together, with a single mind, receive the patra of rice. Those who are replete with the pure precepts and the way of the sagely assembly all have virtue as vast as the ocean. If there are offerings made like this when the Sangha release themselves in confession, then your current parents, parents of 7 generations, and 6 kinds of relatives will all obtain release from the sufferings of the 3 mayas, and they should be, at that time, liberated, clothed, and fed spontaneously. If, furthermore, there are parents of a person who are living, they will have 100 years of fortune and joy. If they are already deceased, then parents of 7 generations will be reborn in the heavens. They will be freely reborn through transformation, entering into the light of heavenly flowers and receiving immeasurable joy. Then the Buddha directed the monastic assembly from the 10 directions to all first recite mantras and make vows on behalf of the donor's family and 7 generations of parents, and practice meditation by settling their thoughts. Only afterwards may they receive the food. In the beginning, when they receive the bowls, they should first place them in front of a Buddha pagoda, and when the monastic assembly has finished reciting the mantras and making vows, may they then receive the food. At that time, Bhikshu Maudgalyayana and this vast assembly of great bodhisattvas all greatly rejoiced. The sounds of Maudgalyayana's grieved weeping dissipated and dispelled. Then, on that day, Maudgalyayana's mother was liberated from a kalpa of suffering as a hungry ghost. At that time, Maudgalyayana further addressed the Buddha, saying, "The parents who give birth to me, your disciple, are able to receive the meritorious power of the three jewels because of the strength of the numinous powers of the monastic assembly. In future ages, may all of the Buddha's disciples who practice filial obedience offer these Yulan bowls to rescue their current parents as well as their parents from 7 generations, or may they not?" The Buddha replied, "A greatly pleasing question. I was just going to speak about what you now inquired. My good son, if there are bhikshus, bhikshunis, kings of countries, princes, sons of kings, great ministers, chancellors, nobility of the 3 grades, officials in the hundreds, citizens by the thousands, or any commoners who practice filial compassion, then for the sake of their current parents and their parents of the past 7 generations, on the 15th day of the 7th lunar month, the day on which Buddhas rejoice and the Sangha release themselves in confession, they should all place the drinks and food of 100 flavors into Yulan bowls and offer them to the Sangha of the 10 directions, who have released themselves in confession. The pleas and vows will cause the lifespan of their current parents to be 100 years without sickness and without any misfortune of suffering or distress. Even the parents of 7 generations will be freed from the suffering of being hungry ghosts and will be able to be reborn among heavenly beings of limitless fortune and joy." The Buddha told all of the virtuous men and women, "These disciples of the Buddha who cultivate filial obedience should, with every moment, constantly think of their parents and make offerings for them, as well as their parents from 7 generations. Every year, on the 15th day of the 7th lunar month, out of filial obedience and compassionate regard for the parents that gave birth to them, and for their parents of 7 generations, they should always make Yulan bowls and offer them to the Buddha and Sangha in order to repay the kindness of those parents who have reared, nourished, and cared for them. All of the disciples of the Buddha should uphold this Dharma." At that time, Bhikshu Maudgalyayana and the 4 classes of disciples, upon hearing what the Buddha had said, rejoiced in, honored, and practiced it.